Hi, this is the Average Human Being podcast, a podcast about noticing the small moments that shape us more than the big ones. I'm Darren Mell, Average Human Being. I'm not here to teach you anything, just talk about being human. Thanks for listening. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Average Human Being podcast. I'm your host, Darren Mell. I got a good one for you. This is where we celebrate the awkward, the honest, and the occasional sleep at the wheel, or sleep in a folding chair moment of life. And I titled this one, Terms and Conditions, Leadership, Why Authenticity Wins. What I wanted to talk about today was really around authenticity and your self-awareness as to whether you believe you have it or not. And let me begin, by asking you this. Have you ever sat through something so boring that you started to question your own life choices? Not like this meeting could have been an email boring, but I'm talking about more, I would rather read shampoo ingredients out loud boring. I wanted to take you back in time. As I said, I'm a late 50s Gen Xer that has really watched a lot of things unfold over the previous years, and it's really been very, very eye-opening to me. I once attended a live speech by a vice presidential candidate back in 1988 when I was a college student at Eastern Illinois University. And I'm pretty sure that the campus squirrels were more engaged than the students. And that day I learned two things. One, politics can absolutely put a crowd to sleep. And then two, authenticity is not optional if you want people to care. And let me sort of set the stage for you. So picture 1988, if you can take a trip back to that time. And picture this in Eastern Illinois University is like 3 hours south of Chicago in a small town called Charleston, Illinois. And back in 1988, if you've listened to any of my other podcasts, I was a huge hair metal fan, played a little bit in a band, but the mullet stayed with me probably longer than I thought of. I think I didn't actually cut it till around 1992. But I had that glorious 80s mullet and a deep spiritual opposition to early morning classes, and I would say zero interest in politics. And if you asked me who was running for president, I probably would have answered either Ronald McDonald or the Burger King, or maybe they were running against each other, and I would have meant it. So picture it like a basketball auditorium where the VP candidate, and you can do your research as to 1988, who it was, and I won't name names here just simply because I'm not into political bashing. But word spread that the VP candidate was coming to campus, and all I thought about, I think, was maybe I'll get a free t-shirt. And then I could eventually cut the sleeves off of it and turn it into a workout shirt. And then my second thought was, at least there's something to do in between ordering Domino's pizza. And let me take you to this. When the VP candidate got up on the stage, it was basically like watching the human version of a terms and conditions agreement that they quickly spit out at the end of a car commercial or automobile commercial. And the candidate said, it's great to be here at, and, sort of the quick glance at the note card or one of his staffers saying, you're at Eastern Illinois University, home of the Panthers. Half the crowd, I think, cheered just because the candidate didn't say that we were the Wildcats. And then, think of the robotic delivery that most politicians deliver on stage that they call authenticity. Strong leadership, economic growth, the future of America. Insert some sort of goofy, corny joke about the local weather. And, I'm sitting there looking around thinking, like, is this what democracy feels like? Because it feels like a lullaby they was trying to put me to sleep. And at the time, I was walking away from that. I'm 20 years old, I think 21. And I thought to myself, after the the VP candidate was done, I was like, well, that was pointless. But looking back, that day taught me something powerful. A lot of times you don't know these things until it's after it's over with. And the meaning I think I took away is if you don't connect with people, they won't remember you. You're just background noise in a crowded gym, and no different than anybody else that gets up there. And then what I didn't realize back then is that what I was creating wasn't just better talking points. I wanted authenticity. I wanted just someone to look up from their note cards and talk to us like we were actual human beings, not a demographic. And, I didn't know that back then. And I think that's a big problem with like anybody in the public speaking. If your job is to lift people up in motivation, you've got to, I don't know what else to say other than you got to do better than that. And that's where we talk about young people. And I was one of them that was disingenuous and didn't really pay any attention to politics till I was about really closer to 40 years old. Bring it to today, fast forward to today. We've got smartphones and social media, AI, filters, reels, highlight videos of our breakfast. And somehow we've gotten worse at connecting. We're, in a way, all running our own personal PR departments now. Here's my curated vulnerability. Here's my post that shows my scheduled authenticity. And here's my strategically reliable, relatable post. It's kind of like everyone's delivering a campaign speech for their own life. It's great to be here at XYZ Instagram, home of the perfectly filtered reality. Some of this crosses over into leadership, and I've mentioned to you before that I've been a people leader, middle manager for the past 20, 25 years now. And because so much is talked about around leadership with politics, it ties to corporate leadership. The voice and the terms that we hear now. Look, I'm still working full time as I speak to you right now. I still need money, still need to make a living. But one of these lines I hear it all the time, something like this: we are leveraging cross-functional synergies to maximize stakeholder value. Translation: I read a book once. But what about leaders who actually connect? Think about the last time somebody delivered a speech to you. You were really motivated by it. It touched you personally. When they admit that they're wrong and they tell stories about their mistakes or they share their doubts. Sometimes they even risk maybe a bad dad joke. And then suddenly you can see the room leans in. You see the head nods. When you're speaking in front of people and you see their heads slowly nodding up and down, they're connecting with you. They're saying to you, I'm with you. And that's authenticity. If that's happening, it's magnetic. And scripts, they're forgettable. When all of us have something to give, in my opinion. Your awkward stories, your failures, the time you showed up for, free pizza and you actually got a leadership lesson. Not necessarily a good one in the case of my experience. But in my opinion, that's what connects people. Not slogans, not buzzwords, not perfectly polished branding. Vulnerability, in my opinion, isn't weakness. It's the admission price for real connection. Some of the questions that just think of this for yourself as you listen to this, and thank you for listening. When was the last time you showed up as your real self instead of your professional version? Are you leading or interacting with people with scripts or stories? Who in your life makes you feel seen and heard? And what are they doing differently? Have you ever thought about that? Where are you hiding behind jargon, humor, or polish because vulnerability feels risky? And think about you. If someone attended your speech today, your meeting, your social media, your conversations, would they walk away feeling connected? What would happen if you put down the note cards? Think about this. If you ever find yourself tempted to say, it's great to be here at whatever, do us all a favor, look up, be real, and talk to us. We will remember you for it. And that's the message for today. I really, this is just, it's been such a awakening for me to see how much and how important authenticity is. Would love to hear what you have to say. I'll put some questions in the comments for you to ponder, and really want to engage the community here. If you agree, disagree, would love to hear from you. My name is Darren Mel, Average Human Being. We'll talk to you next time. This has been the Average Human Being podcast with Darren Mel. Thanks for listening.